You want to blend this out a little bit. So then I like to make the bottom of my iris a little bit darker too. I just think it adds some depth to the drawing. You're then going to take your tissue here and you're going to blend the iris. Now, if you guys smear like what I'm doing right now, you just go in with an eraser and just erase all this stuff out here. One thing that's important to mention is when you do blend out all these pencil lines that you just drew, a lot of the darker areas will become lighter. So you can go back in with your pencil and kind of re-darken these areas, like the shadow right here. You want to make sure that this highlight stays very white. I'm still just going through and darkening some of the lines that got lighter. If you have a mechanical pencil, you're going to want to get that out because these are really good for details. So I'm just going to go through and redo this outline of the eye as well as the iris. So next, we're going to draw this kind of ribbon around the eye. Now some eyes have this and they look really cool, so we're just going to copy them. So you want this ribbon to be very sporadic and random. So if you guys can see that now, we drew this little interesting looking ribbon around the eye. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the little spokes and fibers of the eye. So you guys should probably draw from this middle point here so that everything looks correct. These can be dark or light. Makes it better if you kind of randomize it. So then you're gonna go in and add a lot more extra ones until it's pretty filled out in this iris area. Okay, so once you feel like it looks pretty filled out here, you're gonna go to these like little outer peninsula points and you're gonna darken these areas to add some depth to it. So in realistic drawing, guys, one of the most important things is very contrasting darks and lights. Now, I know that sounds obvious, but a lot of the times you want to make things darker or lighter than they seem. Okay, so once you have darkened all these areas, you want to make sure that they're kind of blended in a little bit to the inside of the iris. We will get to the outside area of the iris. So this area, you're going to draw more spokes, but they're going to be kind of like squiggly and like more random than the inside area. You want to leave a small space between that and the inner iris. Make sure not to get this little highlight dirty. And always go through with the eraser and make sure it's clean. You always want to put dark and light areas in anything when you're drawing realistic, which is why some of these spokes are very dark while others are barely visible. So if you want, instead of using the mechanical pencil, you can go in with the dark pencil and do some of these spokes darker. So once you are done with that, you're going to go to the outside of the iris and kind of blend the ends of the spokes into the outside. Okay. Now, you also want to kind of add some light areas in here, just to give some depth to it and some variety. If you're making a darker eye, you might just leave it dark, but I enjoy drawing lighter eyes more, so that's what I'll do. So then we're going to come in with our skinny or pointy eraser. Some of you have a kneadable one, and that would work the best in this. We're going to connect some of these spokes to this outside little ring by erasing this little bridge between them, like this. Now, you're going to do that a few times, but don't overdo it too much. Otherwise, it'll look out of place. You can make some of them skinny or large. After that, you kind of want to go in with your mechanical pencil and make sure that these lines are refined. And also, don't leave them too light. So try and match them with this outside ribbon. If you want, you can also go around the outside ribbon and make it lighter, if that sounds a bit hard, then you can just okay, so we are pretty much done with our iris. I'm gonna darken this shadow at the top a little bit, because it's kind of faded. Okay, now that the iris is done, now we are going to get into the actual eyeball. So we're going to start over in this corner right here. We're going to kind of block it off. This is that little bumpy pink area of your eye. So you kind of want to separate it like this, because this is like an extra little flap here. For now, we are just going to shade this very lightly. Also guys, when shading, you kind of want to use the side of your pencil. So like, hold the back of the pencil while you shade. You also may want to just slightly darken the outline of this area. Okay. So now that I'm looking at this, sometimes you do these things, guys, but sometimes you just want to change something mid-artwork. That is what I'm doing now. Because I believe I made this part a little bit too small. I mean, again, it really doesn't matter. This is normally pretty different in every single eye.